Welcome to One-to-One with Simon Jordan, an exclusive YouTube show where you get to ask me questions and I get to give you the answers without being interrupted by an irritating bloody Scotsman. Fan protests are one thing, but abuse and what we saw at Manchester United is another thing entirely. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Owners certainly do care about fans, but there has to be a balance between what fans want and what fans should have. In the situation with Man United, I was very disappointed with some of the observations that were made by Gary Neville. I think it's absolutely right to have called out the Man Uniteds of the world for their participation in a non-merit based tournament. But you have to get to the disease, not necessarily the symptom. The outrage that certainly Man United fans feel is based upon a scenario of disease and symptom. The symptom was the European Super League, but the disease is the financing football, and fans are in part responsible for some of that because it's their desires, their propensity to want the next billionaire to come in, the next player transfer of 100 million quid, which drives the people that are now owning football clubs, the billionaires that are in the business of sport, because it is now a business. Fans have an inordinate amount of influence, but the idea that fans should be sat on boards and should now be given controlling influences on football clubs with other people's money is difficult for me, not because I'm a former owner, but because nobody has the right to make decisions with other people's money. I would never be Stan Kroenke because I was very driven about pushing my football club forward. I don't have the resources that Stan Kroenke had, or didn't have the resources that Stan Kroenke had when I had Crystal Palace, and didn't have the quality of opportunity that Arsenal should have. Stan Kroenke, as I've said in previous scenarios, is the billionaire owner that's very happy with mediocrity because challenging for the top four is very expensive and being outside the top eight has expense attached to it. That's why he's very comfortable being in sort of 8th and 6th. Arsenal Football Club, I think, deserve a better style of ownership. Not because I want to shout owners out, because I'm not in the owners union, but I do also understand that side of the equation. But I think Stan Kroenke's time at Arsenal probably is past. If this guy, Daniel Eek, who's supposedly tabling a bid somewhere in the region of what Stan Kroenke said a couple of years ago he might accept, is the real deal, then maybe a change of ownership will give it a change of momentum, a change of motivation, a change of energy. But then all you'll be replacing, if you replace establishment, you become the establishment, and dollars for donuts, the next guy that comes in will have similar challenges if he doesn't do precisely what the fans want. The new Champions League format for me is a necessary evil to serve a greater good, if there is a greater good in all this. I listened to the Man City midfielder player Gundogan talking about the fact that the players weren't consulted. The reason why you weren't consulted is probably because people were spending as much time trying to find out how they can pay your wages. And one of the reasons why the Champions League format has expanded so much is because the revenues that are required in football to feed this ravenous beast of player salaries is a big driver. Now, the format itself probably encourages more dead rubbers, probably goes to the heart of people, the reasons why there's a distrust towards UEFA. And it's been driven not necessarily just by UEFA, it was driven by people like Agnelli at Juventus that are trying to bridge the gap financially between what was happening in the Premier League and what's happening in their leagues by finding some opportunities to generate more revenue through the Champions League. I think it's a challenging one for English football because it will disempower the League Cup or the top 6 sides wanting to participate, or certainly top 4 sides wanting to participate in the League Cup, and there'll be the games that they'll probably cut their squads away from. So I don't think much of it. I don't think there should be much thought of it. I think the Champions League is a contradiction in terms because most of the teams aren't champions that play in it. I think 99% of players, with the exception perhaps of Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, are probably overrated. Harry Kane is a fabulous footballer and of his kind, probably the best in the world. So does that make him overrated? You know when you go into hyperbole about how good players are, a lot of that is used in conjunction with Harry Kane. But when you look at his goal scoring record in the Premier League, you look at his assists, is he overrated? Well, probably not. I can't imagine that most of the things that I have to say that involve engagement with the authorities will be received with very accommodating ears. Not necessarily because of the message, but the messenger. Look, You know, vested interest is something I always railed against when I was inside football in terms of owning a football club. I found myself on the receiving end of people serving up their particular brand of recrimination towards me during my time in football. So I don't expect certain vantage points to be accepted from me, but accepted full stop is a different dynamic. So I'm not after potentially furthering my own opportunities within football. I had my time. I'm more after advancing the notion that football can row its own boat. Once upon a time, I listened to a chief executive of Tottenham tell me that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let's have a look at football now.